There are always so many ways that you can start something, you know? There are always so many ways that you can structure a video, so many combinations when it comes to phrases and word placement, and just so many ways you can do this. But with that, I feel like I need to get this out of the way first. Nightcrawler is my all-time favorite movie, and I'm admittedly proud of this take. You know, it's not too obvious like it would be to call 2001: A Space Odyssey or Taxi Driver my favorite movie of all time. It's not too show-offy like it might be to call some super obscure foreign movie my favorite. No, Nightcrawler sits comfortably in there as something that leaves me in shock and awe every time I watch it, but also as a film that feels like it needs more attention. I just want everybody to see this. This isn't a movie that everybody's mum or dad raves about, is what I'm saying. Anyway, I've been wanting to make a video about Nightcrawler for the longest time, but I've also been putting it off because, well, I don't want to screw it up. I feel like there's a lot of responsibility for me to get it right here, you know? I hold it in such a high regard that I don't want to somehow disrespect it or misrepresent it, but here we go. Nightcrawler's protagonist, Lou Bloom, is a man who knows what he wants and knows how to get it. He's a character that represents the idea of hard work, of dreaming to be better, and of gaining the upper hand no matter the cost. In stressful situations, he knows how to react, and he knows how to argue his way out of just about any situation as well. Playing like an icon for the American dream, Bloom on paper is an impressive man that one might aspire to be like. But in a more literal sense, he also happens to be a character who is on the edge of his own sanity. He also happens to arguably be a complete and utter psychopath, and he also happens to depict the idea of power and panic when it comes to sensationalism. He spends his nights capturing hell on earth and enjoys it as we watch him film the horrific results of motorway accidents and murders, and later sells it for a profit. That's my job. That's what I do, Bloom justifies.
Hey, that's what I do, it's my job.
I'd like to think that if you're seeing me, you're having the worst day of your life. Nightcrawler depicts this man on the edge in such a straight and narrow way though that the lines blur between who the character of Lou Bloom really is. Because there are different sides. There's his sales pitch version of himself who smiles, who shakes hands, who autonomously drives a conversation his way. And then there's the silent, selfish devil within who's willing to commit crimes, hurt people in indirect ways, and secretly control every situation that he's in. Lou Bloom is such a complex character that it's an interesting way to watch Nightcrawler on multiple accounts, and that you notice something new about the guy with every rewatch. It's heavily and solely a character study in that way. Nightcrawler isn't a film to dazzle with its bright lights and loud sounds, but it is a movie that wants us to take a look at this protagonist and wonder who he really is, and why we do or do not side with him when shit goes down. In that way, I want to question whether Lou Bloom is the villain of the story or not, because if he's not, who is? And here we rarely rely on the performance of Jake Gyllenhaal to provide us with the nuance that the character deserves. He goes all in and doesn't look back. Jake Gyllenhaal can do no wrong. Also, did I mention that he's my favorite actor of all time as well? So there's that aspect too, okay? Nightcrawler transforms him into a borderline unrecognizable cutout of his former self. What makes it so ultimately eerie isn't that there's some crazy prosthetic on his face that changes his entire identity, or, you know, he's not wearing a mask that obscures or diminishes certain facial features or anything quite so wild in that kind of way. What makes it such a shocking alteration to the actor is that he kind of doesn't look that different. Like, it's clearly him, but it's like this inverted version of himself. His entire persona, his mannerisms, his movement, it's all Lou Bloom. The character appears as kind of a shallow skeleton of a man, his eyes bulging out of his head, his hair slicked back, often in a trendy bun, reflecting his makeshift and craftsmanship ways, and he's always dressed with professionalism in mind. On the surface, Jake Gyllenhaal's Lou Bloom appears to be respectable. After all, he's ferociously ambitious and works hard to get what he wants, and he's highly intelligent, I think. It comes off like Lou Bloom could probably sell you your own shirt off your back in certain situations. He's a master at what he does, and what he does is manipulation. And here I think that the film is purposefully casting a horrifying mirror of the American dream and twist it in an unapologetically sinister way. Lou Bloom commits crimes, screws with others, and does everything he does for the benefit of himself. And ultimately gets rewarded for that. By the end of the film, Bloom has won, reigned over all, and is starting an even tighter and larger version of what he'd been doing throughout the film. Nightcrawler plays as an origin story for this sick fuck who goes on to build a successful career out of doing wrong. I think that the film here is trying to say that in our working world, based upon all of our competition, that there's only one way to get to the top, and it's not pretty. Nightcrawler depicts a highly competitive field of operation and depicts us with the idea that Bloom must continuously choose option B over A. He must go about his own roundabout ways to succeed. And if the film isn't saying this, then why does Bloom succeed? Here I think Nightcrawler is actually taking quite a cynical viewpoint, viewing master manipulators as the almighty here, and showing us that powerful people have to make enemies along the way. It makes me question whether that's worth it. On the other hand though, the film might be looking at things from another angle. Perhaps there's a bit of a hopeful stride in the context, telling its viewers that anybody can get anything if they try. When watching Lou Bloom get passionate about something, we see that he chucks himself into the deep end with it. He emerges his all and gets wrapped up, and eventually gets to the point that he has quickly become as knowledgeable as he needs to be. The character proves here that power comes from confidence and knowledge, and that can be worked at. He starts the film off pawning a stolen bike for a video camera and ends it running a multi-level business. In a real roundabout way, Lou Bloom kind of represents the working man succeeding. We see this as he starts the movie off trying to make his way into another completely random and alternative career field, but stumbling his way through the interview, which, by the way, he also just decided was an interview to begin with on the spot. During the scene, he states,
My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket!
This represents what we can assume was his working class upbringing. Nothing is stated about Bloom's childhood in the actual movie, but if I were to take a guess, I'd say that it probably wasn't a pleasant one. Since then, I imagine he's dreamed of gaining power, no matter what the focus of that power even is. So to gain desired power, throughout the film, Lou Bloom makes his way into getting exclusives for television news. And it's here where Nightcrawler reflects a dark shadow among our modern society and represents how the media can and does determine how we, the public, feel, as well as what we see and what we believe. There are many moments in the film where one might consider the actions of Bloom going too far into the unacceptable realm. Whether it's screwing with a competitor's vehicle to ensure a victory, or whether it's waiting to call the police for an opportune time, or whether it's setting up a situation in which he knows will be the most catastrophic to hide in the drama and thus earn a larger profit for his video.
He's dead!
Whatever the moment is for you, one moment in particular stuck out to me, and it's not even his most heinous crime. At one point in the film, Lou Bloom had broken into a house of a victim of crime, as he gets B-roll footage of the crime scene. As he does so though, he discovers bullet holes in the fridge of the house, among pictures of those that live there. And here, I love this simple touch of having the character move the picture slightly closer to the bullet holes, just to get a better shot. He routinely manipulates crime scenes in subtle ways like this, and it's all with an eye for the art. It's all to get the best shot possible. It's all for his own growth. This is shown again later when he goes even further into the extreme, where he moves actual corpses to fit into frame better and uses his own deceased employee for footage. But the film doesn't forget the little things on the way to those larger issues. And that's something that I really appreciate about it. What I wanted to get at though was that if there wasn't a demand for the kind of content Lou Bloom is creating and selling, he wouldn't be doing it at all. As I said, I don't think that he particularly cares for the media specifically all that much. He just wants to be good at something and respected. And this is something that he has found out that he just happens to be good at. He falls in love with the process, but I think that the passion comes from elsewhere. This all being said, the demand for his footage is there. The piqued interest of those videos is there. The TV broadcasters want that footage for a reason, and it's that people will and are watching. Just like the old phenomenon that you can't look away from a car crash. The film makes criticism of our society in that we want to see that footage. The public is curious about a murder or that car crash. Just as any time that you've driven by somebody who's been pulled over or even in a minor accident, you can't help but look when the sirens are around, because there's a novelty to it. For as fucked up as that sounds, people want to know, people want to see. This, however, will make you think twice about how we consume the news and how we look at this kind of stuff, because here, I think Nightcrawler is criticizing its own audience. In an ironic way, those who are watching Lou Bloom and maybe even root for him are very much an idealized version of the public within the film itself. As we watch Nightcrawler, we are enthralled by the abnormality of the situations and the bizarre bizarreness of the protagonist. We witness the character do as he does in astonishment, but yet again, like the demand for the footage itself in the context of the film, we can't look away. Like the hypothetical car crash, like the bus wreck before us, we can't look away. Nightcrawler here is calling us out. It's a film all about the hypocrisies of our own selves as we sit there sickened by the actions made within the film, yet still remain inquisitive to find out what happens next. So, I ask, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it that there's a demand for the fucked up footage that he continuously captures throughout the film? Is it the broadcasters for providing the footage at all? I mean, they profit from it and even go as far as to fearmonger upon it further. So they're not exactly noble in their endeavors as they flat out instruct Bloom to create a narrative around the footage that he gets. They talk about the analytics of their news sources and discuss about the effectiveness of public panic. They make situations look worse than they are. They focus on particular people of race or crimes in particular areas while holding out on the context and the rest of the info. The media in this film is depicted as one with an agenda with blinders on, focused on only one thing to rile viewers up in the most effective way, because nothing keeps them watching like fear. Do you know what fear stands for? Lou Bloom says. False evidence appearing real. Or is it the public's fault? Are we all to blame just as much as each other? The media companies are only providing a demanded product after all. There'd be no money in it otherwise. I don't know what the answer is, but even if others are to blame, that is in no way an excuse for Lou Bloom's actions in the film. Lou Bloom is the villain of Nightcrawler. He also just happens to be the main character as well, and that's what I think is so great about it. I feel like the movie doesn't stand on its moral high ground. I feel like it doesn't judge, it kind of just depicts, and it kind of says its own intentions and says its own opinions just by showing its own footage. It doesn't actually have to go about things in a preachy way. It doesn't have to go about things in a really fake and manipulated way. It just shows us how the media is, and it shows us through the lenses of this fucked up character. And it's very important that he is a fucked up character. It makes it not only more, interesting for us as a viewer, but it really just recontextualizes the entire situation and everything that happens in the film. I think it's amazing. It's my favorite movie of all time. If you haven't seen it, well, you probably shouldn't have been watching this whole video because I pretty much just said everything that happens, but you should watch it. Cool, so I'm glad that I'm doing more video essays like this. If you're liking them, let me know and everything. And yeah, I think I'm going to continue doing more like this. I mean, I'm still going to stick to doing movie reviews and all that kind of stuff as well, but I'm starting to want to do these video essays more just because I feel like they're more worth my time. I don't know. Let me know if you think so as well. And look out for my next videos. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And goodbye. Thanks for watching.